Hey guys, Loz here. Welcome back to City Skylines. Last time we we expanded a bit more on our residential zones. There's that section up on the hillside there in front of us, and we also got a bit done over here with some of the higher density residential. Today, I think I'm going to have a go at building some parks. There's a lot of spaces where I intend to build parks. There's this big, the big spot in the middle. There's all this space between the buildings where I want to fill out with parks, and these up the end here, that one there that's empty at the moment. And I think this one here, I'm not sure if I just redo the middle where the maze was or if I redo the whole thing. And yeah, this big one in the middle, I don't know how much I'll get through today. I think I'm going to have a few episodes to do to catch up on the number of parks that I planned. There's a lot there. And there's also all this space down in front of the dam that I wanted to fill out, including these 2 points in front of, like at the end of these roads, which, they should work out pretty well. And along the top of the dam as well. But yeah, we'll get straight into it, and hopefully I get a fair bit done today. Alright, so it was dangerous saying it. The first thing I did was came and looked at this park and realised, you know what? Let's just start. Let's just do that whole middle section again. Then I came back through and realised these new zonable paths were there, and I thought, yeah, okay, we'll go and redo all of it again. And I went and cleared everything. I had some ideas around what I wanted to do with these zonable paths. I wanted to try and get a park or something in along the path somewhere that would attract some foot traffic, which it ended up working out quite well after I'd worked out how to actually place a park along a straight section of road, because that's apparently something that was difficult for a few minutes there. And so, just a tennis court, right? On this side, I thought, a tennis court would fit nicely in the middle of a park, which in the end, it does very well, but I won't give that away just yet. And yeah, I was quite intrigued by some of these paths. What would you call it? The wooden bridge, that was pretty cool. This episode, I might just say, guys, this was a lot of fun to make. I really did enjoy doing these parks, and hopefully you guys enjoy how they turned out. That little point on the edge of the park there where it dipped down and it was causing me trouble with placing the fences last time, I decided to come back through and fix up the landscape just by shifting the canal no more than, what would be a meter in the game to the right. That meant that it was no longer pulling that little bit of the landscape down. It worked wonders. And that meant that I could get straight in and get the fences down and have it, looking the way it should. One other thing I did when I was editing this, I cut out a lot of time. Like, I spent so much time going through all the props, at least probably 2 or 3 minutes every time I wanted to find something different. It'd be 2 or 3 minutes of searching through until I found what I wanted. That was the only painful part of this. More than half of my time was spent searching for which prop, which fence, which tree, which bush to find the one I wanted. And anyway, so here we go. Obviously, okay, so starting off getting the fences down, the first episode that I did the park in, the original park, that was the first time I'd really ever done anything on this kind of scale, or this level of detail, I should say. So I learnt a lot from that one, and I hope that I've, done better this time. There's a few things I'm doing differently, especially now with this prop line tool. The barrier placement tool, I think that's the name of what the other mod was. It was great. This one, 10 times better. You can do so much more with it, especially with the curved stuff. It's fantastic. There's one big difference that I've noticed though between the two. The barrier placement tool seems to make its own asset, like a single asset that is a line of the barriers, the fences, whereas prop line tool places a whole lot of individual ones, the actual props. The downside to that with the prop line tool is that they aren't all perfectly aligned. They are, they sit a little bit off from each other, but it's fine. You wouldn't notice it. So anyway, what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to create an area that would be both somewhere where families would go on the weekend to have their picnics, and also somewhere where people might be willing to hire out a venue for their wedding. The stone path, I feel, worked out quite well in the end. It was a little, just a little bit tricky to get the placement right, but it worked well. And a little painting off to the side there that no one will ever see, but it's just, I don't know, I feel like these little things are what makes a bit of difference. The other thing I tried, I wanted to get a bit more foot traffic, was I thought, maybe if I had one or two very small commercial buildings in there. So I zoned it as leisure, I think it was, and just set out those. They didn't end up like, you'll see in a minute, they don't end up looking quite like what I wanted to go for. They're just, regular old commercial buildings that I give it one more chance, right? I just change the size of the zone, give them another chance to, give me something to work with. But it doesn't actually work out that well. Here they are. So it's pretty much the same thing again, and there was like a petrol station in the middle of it. That was no good. I guess, I could go and find a commercial building somewhere else that works and use the eyedropper tool, but no. I wasn't that keen on the idea. So I wanted to do like a really nice garden here. Not something I'd done before, but with the prop line tool, I thought, why not? It should be really easy now. So I've got the paths laid out, and as you can see, I've come back through and added a few more trees in, just got that finished off. And then I go through the process of trying to work out what plants I want. I cut out about 10 minutes there that you guys didn't see of me just flicking through all the different plants. And I did settle on these. Something that I think I'll do before I record the next park is work out what kind of theme or color scheme or something, rather than needing to cut out 5 minutes here and there every time I'm just flicking through looking. So look, this is fairly straightforward. The prop line tool, pretty much when it comes to placement, it works exactly the same as the road. So anyone that is familiar with the game will be able to jump straight in and use this tool so easily. And as you can see, it really helps to be able to lay these out, and it just adds so much to the game. You could almost use this as, I don't know, what are those, the programs you use to design landscapes even. You could do some really awesome stuff in it if, you own City Skylines and you didn't feel like forking out like some of them charge a lot of money for those programs. You could do some cool stuff in this. There would be limits, but it'd be cool. One other thing, so I am I know I'm going to be a bit late with getting this one uploaded this week. There's a reason. For the last 3 or 4 days, I could not get the game to load, and I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to continue the series. I have backups of all my saves. I save between every episode, but it just the game kept crashing as soon as it started up. I tried a number of things. I moved the game files onto an SSD, just improve things a bit there. No luck. I ended up I think it was last night, deciding, yep, okay, it's time to reinstall. So wiped it, reinstall, and overnight it re-downloaded all the mods, everything, all the assets, all the mods. It got everything back again, and it booted up first go. Yay! Loaded the save, perfect. What I did notice though is that I was actually consuming a bit more memory than I had in the past, and I was very close to what would be, not good for the game. It was probably writing to the page file a fair bit by that point. I think it was up above 90%. I think there was an update to one of the mods or something, and it changed its memory usage, and it just pushed my machine over limits. So I went out and bought more RAM. So now, everything's running a lot better. I'm barely even hitting, 30-40% now, which is great. Anyway, so, enough of those problems. It took me several days, but back in action, and here we are. I really needed it for this stuff, because this many props really pushes any machine. It will test your PC. If you think about doing this, it will really stress it. It looks fantastic though. It's really worth it. So, this I'm really happy with how this these plants. I'm really happy with how this landscape worked out, how this garden worked out. The colors I think work well. It fits nicely, and right here I decided, there's this empty space that, if you were first person camera walking through these paths, you wouldn't be able to see through the trees and bushes if I put something else in behind there. So why not open it up and use it? So I did, and just kind of made this little secret area. As you saw, I did try using the surface painting tool. Didn't work so great, and went back to use those stone paths again, which I really like those. I'm going to be using them more often, I think. That worked out very well. And a few more trees just to finish that off, and the grass, of course. We've got these areas off to the side here are all fenced off, so they don't get much maintenance. So just throw a bit of long grass in there just to add those finishing touches. And yeah, that's pretty. I was playing around there trying some different colors, but yeah, stuck with the one. That's that one. Pretty much that's it done. Almost. I do actually come back to it later and add a little bit more. Off to this other one. Yes, as you probably noticed, I did just accidentally delete one of the keys and had to re-add it. Come back through, I realized this side was a lot higher than the other one, so I decided to bring it down a little bit to get it closer to the same. Here's where I come back, because I realized, chairs. I can add some chairs, and it's these little details I'm finding more and more, they just add so much to the end result and just make it look so much better. Just a few chairs and a bin and some lights, and it just adds so much. You wouldn't think about it, and it takes a lot of time to do it as well, but it just adds so much to, how it looks in the end. Yep. So fixing up these keys, getting them all down to something around the same height as the other side, and then back up a little bit, because I can't remember why I did that. Oh, that's right, where one of the keys ends, it was going to be below the surface of the terrain, which wouldn't have been great. It would have looked a bit odd, and it was really difficult. Like we're working with these areas where underneath the keys, building a fire. I was just checking if the fireys were getting there quick enough. As I was saying, working with terrain where underneath the keys it's actually sloping down quite steep. The terrain tools to soften the terrain, it doesn't really work too well when you get close to it, and it goes and messes things up. Got there in the end, just making very slight adjustments all over the place. and the paths on this side. So decided to go with something very similar to the other side, just that outside edge and wrap it around. And this, I can't remember what it's called. This park, I can't remember the actual name of it, is the one I decided to use to get that foot traffic on that side. And it does. I would have liked to have a park, I think, further up towards the point to get that foot traffic a bit further up there. But where I placed it, it needs power and water. So I didn't want to have power lines running through the middle of the park. So that's where it had to stay. Fence is very similar to the other side. And again, trees, all very similar to, pretty much exactly the same as the other side. I tweaked the spacing a bit just to get it pretty much exactly the same as the other side. I should have checked the spacing before I placed them on the other side, and taken some notes just to be. There was part of me in my head that was thinking, why didn't I just write down a number, and then I would have known, and it would have been perfect. But from memory, it was actually like 10.5 or 10.6 or something on the other side, because I didn't realize what that round button did until I started doing this side, I think. So yeah, it's so close that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And this tool is so easy to pick up. So easy. Alright, so this part here, I wasn't sure what to do. I didn't want to just do exactly the same as what was on the other side. I'm obviously coming back looking for some inspiration, perhaps. The fences and barriers along the front, I wanted that to be the same. And I did have a thought to do some kind of farmer's market sort of thing, but I still wanted it to have that, that semi-secluded park garden sort of feel. So it does fill out a lot in the end. But the big difference with this one, I went with the gravel paths instead of the pavement. And here I'm just trying out some of these fruit stands. I can't even remember which collection these came in. They're already in the collection, if you're wondering. I was just flicking through and I saw them and thought, oh yeah, cool, I'll use them. I'll make a farmer's market. And so I decided to use the surface painter to set out an area that will be the farmer's market, and then I work around that. Those will be my edges, because as you know, the surface painter, you can't easily, you can't change the rotation of it. It's just on a set grid, so you got to work with whatever it gives you. And this way, it meant that I had very clean edges, and I didn't need to try and mask the edges up with lots of plants or anything. But I probably could have. It would have been very easy to do it with the way I'm doing this now. And the other thing I couldn't find, I cut a lot of it out because I spent a lot of time just trying to find simple fences that would fit, and nothing was aligning properly for the size that it is. So, and you probably noticed that I did just remove the gravel that I put down with the surface painter. Very good reason for that, because we have actually got foot traffic through here. I want to see where the edges of the path are, so where the people are walking, before I start placing all the objects around them, because you don't want people walking through the stalls. You want them walking in front of them like they would if it was, real life. So you want them walking past. You don't want it too far away. You don't want it too close. You don't want them, going through. So I think I just repeated myself there. Anyway, that's why I removed that surface paint. And now that, once I get all of the stalls in, then I change it back to gravel again. So, it all looks like it should. And I spent a lot of time here flicking through. I tried to make the stalls look somewhat random, there we go with the surface painter again. And you can see now it all looks, you can see it looks like the people are walking around the stalls, and adding some gates in, just, because people aren't allowed behind the stalls unless they're selling stuff. And flicking through a lot of different props just to see what I can throw in there. I think there was some barrels, crates, more boxes of fruit and other bits and pieces. And I did try and put these hay bales around this. That's a clock in the center. The hay bales didn't work well. People were walking through it, so I just decided to remove them. I can't even remember what those two little things I put over to the right are. I think that was just like a pamphlet stand or something. Anyway, and obviously we need light, so I decided just to use one of the single ones and rotate it to make it this 3-sided thing. And that's the farmer's market. That's it. That market itself is done, and now it's time to fill out the rest. And I wanted to make this. I still can't remember what it's called. This Japanese garden. I wanted it to kind of be a bit secluded, like it was broken off from the rest of it. That's why I put that row of trees around it, just to kind of, if you were one of the little citizens inside it, then it would be like you're completely separated from the rest of the civilized world. These Japanese cherry trees, I don't know if I'm sold on these. I'm really happy with how the park on the other side turned out. These ones, I really like that prop. Whoever created it did a fantastic job. I don't know if it's not the prop, it's how I've used it. I don't know if it fits with what I'm doing there. I need to sit on it for a while and think and see if it works. So I'm flicking through while I was creating the farmer's market. I noticed these pools and I thought, you know what, maybe a public pool might work. And up the top here, because I still hadn't worked out what I wanted to do there, I put the pools down and used the surface painter to get rid of the grass underneath and put the concrete around the pools. I had assumed that the path would connect, but it doesn't. And then, I'm just trying to work out different ways to get the edges looking right. And I realized, these two pools probably, the grid would line up. So just build the path around the edges and remove the surface paint. That's it. It's done. There is still paint underneath the center of the pools for a very good reason. If I remove it, the grass will appear in the middle of the pool. Yeah. So you need to add it to remove the grass, and you do actually see it if you zoom out and it starts to unload some of the assets. Like, I can't remember what it's called when it, just to improve performance, it doesn't load them until you zoom in. Anyway, so it's a public pool. We've got a fence around it, and our entry gate, we've got just these two little sheds either side, and I wanted to put a what's it called? Just a little like a barrier or something across, so people had to walk past the actual sheds where, I don't know, someone might be there with making people pay to enter, and that's it. That's the pool done. Just some grass on the sides here, exactly the same as the other side, just to add that little bit to it. And then I was trying to work out, I did feel like I wanted to fill in this area, these just along the front, not necessarily throughout the whole thing, but more so just the front section. And similar to the Japanese cherry tree, I think they're cherry. I don't know if I'm sold on this. The farmer's market, I think works great. The gardens around it, I'm not so sold on. It's just a lot of bushes filling it out, and some of those small, well, they're labelled plant too. I got no idea what they're actually called. But just along the front, just, if I think it would look quite nice for someone walking along the path, but from the view that we've got from up high, I'm kind of on the fence. Yeah, same as the other side. Just, filling it out with some of those small and medium bushes and those little purple flowers along in front. And that's it. So I'm really happy with how these two parks turned out. I think it's a lot better than my first one was. It was, I did like the first one. It was something I learnt from as well. And hopefully making some much better parks now. And you might notice my frame rate's suffering a bit at the moment too. That's a bit of a shame, but when you're dealing with this many props, that happens. I got to work out how to tweak my settings to just to get that back up to a good frame rate. But yeah, look, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I do intend to recreate another maze somewhere else now that I've got the prop line tool. Just got to find the right bushes to use to create that maze, because I think it's a cool idea to, something to make, but down the track. Yep. All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. You know what to do. Hit those buttons: like, subscribe, dislike. Leave a comment. Hit me up on Twitter. That's it, Twitter at randomnerdloz. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.